to pick up the pieces after having a rough start to the league campaign. Also, we'll be talking briefly about where Ghana will be playing their next game against Sudan. We don't know which venue would be approved for us to play our next game. Remember that CAF has withdrawn the approval for the use of any stadium within Ghana to host that game, that Africa Cup of Nations qualifier between Ghana and Sudan. The game is on the 11th of October, and as it stands, we do not know whether the game will be staged in Ghana or it will be outside the confines of this country. My name is Mutala Yakubu, and I've been joined by my senior colleague, Prince Annang, and also Josiah Okoe, who will be helping to delve deep into all the issues that have come up. Also, we'll be talking about what has been happening at the Parliamentary Select Committee, where yesterday we had the president of the Ghana Football Association, Quaye, facing the panel and answering some questions. Also, the likes of Otia Kenton have all been there. We'll discuss all that here in the next 1 hour. So let me start with my senior colleague, Prince. Let's talk about the Ghana Premier League match day 4. First of all, let me run through all the results that came. We started on Saturday where Accra Lions had a 3-1 win against Nswatemana, and also Heart of Lions drew goalless with Bibiani Gold Stars at the Pando Stadium. Legon Cities, things didn't go their way as they were beaten 2-0 by Karela at the University of Ghana Stadium. Brekum Chelsea also held Kotoko to a 1-1 draw, and Bechem United also beat Dreams by 1-0. Young Apostles at Wenchi had a 3-2 win against Adriana. Nations were held by Heart of Oak to a goalless draw at the Dr. Kwame Chase Sports Complex. Last season, that same fixture ended in a draw at that same venue. Samatex also beaten Vision by 2-1, and Baseke Holy Stars lost at home to Medeama by 2-1. Please, let's start off with Accra Heart of Oak. After a rough start to their campaign, their last 2 games have been favorable to them. They've picked up 4 points out of a possible 6.
A fair result, I would say, for Accra Hearts of Oak. I mean, the commencement of the league has not been that positive for them, but at least picking up a draw or a point away from home comes to back up the notion that head coach had. He believes that given time, the team would start playing strongly together as a well-knit team. Nations gave them a run for their money, although a lot of chances were also created in the game. But unfortunately, Accra Hearts of Oak could not turn the tide as they had wished they would. I remember before the game, Coach Kasim Mingle had given indication that Nations were ready to hold the fort. Nations were ready to make this season a fortress in terms of the Abrankese pitch. But unfortunately, tried as they did, both sides could not make it possible as far as 90 minutes total result at the end of the match was concerned. But again, followers of Accra Hearts of Oak believe that it was an improvement from the last game Accra Hearts of Oak played. They were looking forward to at least getting a couple of goals. That didn't work, but I'm sure that they will now turn their eyes and their concentration on this weekend, Friday to be precise, when they play host to the lads from Doma. Hoping that they would have a very good game on that day. Just before the program started, I was in a chat with Coach Yawa Champong, and he's giving me a fair idea of the kind of performance Adriana have put up this season. He believes that it's not the best, and it's simply because Adriana has made away with almost all the entire older generation of the squad, so he's got a young team to blend. He believes that with time they will blend. And so for the first starters, I mean, it's just 4 match days. Teams are still getting into the groove, as it were. And I'm sure that after match day 5, match day 6, probably match day 7, we will see the galloping stature of the teams.
Josiah, after the rough start, the first 2 matches, they didn't go their way, ended in a defeat. Pressure was on Abubakar Ouattara and the boys, but the last 2 games have seen a lot of improvement. They won against Bechem United, followed up with a draw against Nation. Finally, I'm sure Heart of Oak fans will calm their temper.
Good afternoon to you and also to cherished viewers. I think you had it right. If you had to sum up all 4 games for Accra Heart of Oak, then you'd say they've only managed to pick up 4 points from a possible 12. But if the last 2 games they've played is anything to go by, then you'd also say that they've picked up 4 from a possible 6, which is quite an improvement. Comparing the last 2 games to the first 2 games of the season. It's a new Hearts of Oak setup. Yes, it's the same man in the dugout, the same man who oversaw, to the teams, play and grinding results for for larger part of the second round last season. It's still Abubakar Ouattara, but you look at the Hearts of Oak setup and you can attest to the fact that quite a lot has changed within the team. Most of the players we saw play don the Phobian colours are not there this season, with the exception of Kelvin Osei-Sibe and then Hamza Issa, who are starters currently, in this setup. You talk about the likes of Efria Samuel Boateng, who is quite new. There's Mauli Wayu, who has played a couple of games for them. In midfield, there's Collison, Theophilus. There's Mohamed Hussein, the other Mohamed, also Sani. Also there at the back, you have Yaya Draman, who signed from Gold Stars. There's Ransford Mensah, one of the best, dead ball specialists we have in the league. And also in post, there's a new Benjamin Asari. So you can see that it's a completely different setup for Accra Hearts of Oak. You just can't fault, the manager. Just like Prince rightly said. Yahweh Champion believes things will have to work, but it will take time because this is football. It doesn't just change overnight. If you want to build chemistry, if you want to build, some sort of synergy in the team, it takes time because these players will have to train together, play on the field together for some time before they get to, know each other very well. For Hearts of Oak, yes, I know the fans are always expectant. They always want their team to win. They're a big team. They've won the league 21 times, which is quite, a remarkable feat. But you didn't for them if they enter into a new season and in their first 2 games, they drop points. They feel they should be winning. And it was a good point at the Dr. Kwame Chase Sports Complex. There's a place they dropped point last season. They could have won, but, you look at the performance put up by Nations. I think it was a good result.
Let's still stay with Hearts of Oak. A lot of changes have been made to the squad. A lot of experienced quote-unquote players have left and the younger players have come in. Realistically, if you're a Hearts of Oak fan, what should you be aiming at? Prior to the start of the season, Abubakar Ouattara talked about the fact that his major aim is not to end up fighting relegation. Not to end up where they ended up last season, that was 14th place. Realistically, what should Hearts of Oak fans expect?
They should expect nothing but consistency. Of course, they should start with a lot of tolerance.
Do you think the league is far-fetched, winning the league?
We're nowhere. It will be very early to put stakes on a claim at this stage of the league. We've only had a couple of match days. We're gradually separating the men from the boys. I feel that for Accra Hearts of Oak, one of the key core things the players should bear in mind is the fact that you put on that Accra Hearts of Oak jersey, it's like you're ready for war. But then you ask yourself, are you ready for war? Playing for traditional clubs in this country comes with a lot of patience, it comes with a lot of tolerance, but it also comes with a lot of muscle. Are these the kind of players, the quality that Accra Hearts of Oak are looking at sending them or taking them to the Golden Fleece? If you ask me that question, I will say it may be the team, but sometimes I like to throw caution to the wind. I like to be very careful. It's early days yet for Abubakar. If you engage him in conversations, in chats, and he's a very good conversationalist, he will tell you practically what is on the ground. And he believes that one of the few things he has going for him is the fact that these young crop of players of Accra Hearts of Oak for this generation are ready to work. They are ready to do the job. Now, how long is going to take them to blossom into a team? It's also going to take another hurdle to climb. We didn't see that in the first 2 games. We saw a good comeback in their first game they played at the Legon Stadium, and so they're going back again on Friday to play that second home game. But clearly, it shows that with some amount of determination, in fact, with a lot of determination and some amount of luck, we should see this team gel and blossom and be ready to fight for their own rights. But at this stage of the competition, as Josiah rightly said, it's going to be a combination of the older generation of the players who have had a feel of the Premiership before with the Phobians, telling the younger ones exactly what to do on the field of play. I'm sure that if that happens, probably by match day 10, Accra Hearts of Oak should see themselves in respectable positions. Okay. And for Accra Hearts of Oak, what's a respectable position?
A top 4 finish?
First or second.
Well, so that is Accra to folk on your screen is there training at the Pobeman complex. They were held to a draw, or they rather held Nations FC to a draw at the Dr. Kwame Chase Sports Complex. I remember the last season they nearly ran away with 3 points at that same venue, only for a howler from Richmond IE to allow Nations FC back into the game, and they shared the sports. Now away from Accra to folk, let's talk about Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Not too much of a bad start, but it's also not a perfect start for Kotoko faithfuls. After winning their opening game, that was against Karela, they've gone on to draw their last 2 games, and their fans are absolutely gutted.
Yeah, they are very easy to
has brought together. So after that draw against Brekum Chelsea at the Golden City Park, Prosper spoke to the media.
Had the chances, but we couldn't convert. So to me, I mean, it was going to the end of the game. It was working very well for us, and we had.
Things didn't go as planned for Coach Prosper Nate Ogum, because the strategy that he mapped, it seems that Brekum Chelsea and of course their head coach Samuel Boadu also mapped up a strategy to stop them. Josiah, let's talk about one team that is enjoying being at the summit of the league, that is Medeama. The Bocha couple had a very tough final last season. This time things are really beginning to work for them, and guess what? The Medeama faithfuls are super excited because a one-time Ghana Premier League top scorer, Derisi Taylor, is also beginning to find his goal-scoring form. He scored in that game against Baseke Holy Stars, and the Bocha believes that this could be one of too many goals that will come his way.
Yeah, most definitely. I was looking at this Medeama team last season. I was thinking, how would their performance in the league had been if they were not playing also in Africa? It would have been a different narrative. You know, they found themselves in a very, very difficult group with the likes of Belouizdad, Al-Hali, you know, Yanga, and they had to switch in between competitions, and it took a lot. You know, physically it was draining.
They even have a game in hand,
exactly.
but they've won their first 3 games.
Won their first 3 games.
100% start to the
exactly.
season.
And you look at last season, how they struggled, but they still managed to, you know, finish at a very, very respectable position. You know, and they won the league not long ago. 2 seasons ago, they were champions. Yeah. So if it has to do with, you know, winning the league or winning games, then this team surely knows, you know, how to do it. And they still have some players, you know, within the ranks that were with the team when they won the league, you know, a couple of seasons ago. Kamaradini is still around. Nana Kofi Babel is there. Derek Fojo is there. A couple of players. They have, you know, Prosper Boachi in midfield. They have God knows Jack Pasu. Also, Michael Enu is there.
They have about 90% of the squad from last season still around.
You know, and if you follow this team, I was there when they played against Kotoko in the Inauguration Cup. The game they won by 2-1. Yeah. I was there when they played against newly promoted Basaka Holy Stars in the Apinto Cup, where they ended up, you know, losing. I watched this game, you know, a couple of times at the TNA Park, and I can tell you that, you know, whatever they did or they tested during the preseason is really paying off for them, because, you know, the most fascinating thing about their 9 points so far in the league is the fact that they've won 2 away games, which we don't really see. You know, we don't often see after 3 or 4 match weeks in the Ghana Premier League. We hardly even see teams, you know.
The one against Legon Cities.
Legon Cities are away, and then
Basake Holy Stars,
which I would say is a sweet revenge after they lost, you know, the Pinto Cup. Yeah. You know, despite the fact that it was just preseason and, you know, it wasn't really a tough game. But trust me, they are doing something right. They are really putting their house in order.
When Medeama were eliminated from the Champions League last season, the fans were agitated. They didn't want to hear even a word from the Bocha couple, their head coach. He called for calm, and he says that the CAF Champions League has become a distraction for his team because most of the boys had not played that competition before. What he said last season is beginning to bear fruit about calling for calm. 3 games in the Ghana Premier League, 3 wins, 100% record.
My last chat with Nebosha was when Medeama played in the top 4 competition. And he laid claim to the same facts. He believes that you give the team the time and then you give them the space and the peace of mind to prepare for tough games. This is when the players can compose themselves and also address the issue of wanting to play according to the coach's instructions. He's hammered that a few times. He believes in that consistency. He believes in that continuity. And that is clearly what we are seeing from Medeama Sporting Club this season. They've started well, they've started brightly, they're picking up the points, be they at home or away, which is good enough for them. Now, that positivity is what will almost always lead Medeama into their next game, regardless of where they're playing. Because now you realize that they have gelled as a team, they have blended as a team. I'm only hoping that they have not peaked too early, because it's a long way to go in the Ghana Premier League. And you're going to need a lot of staying power at this stage to ensure that you can keep your head up there and you can still rub shoulders with the rest of the other competing teams. But so far, it's been working well for Nebosha. Josiah rightly said, you've got the old guards who are there and who are also playing consistently. And it is the key to teams wanting to do well, especially this season. Because once that you maintain a certain level of consistency, that is the edge and the push that you need.
Okay.
Medeama have it. Hearts don't have it. Kotoko don't have it. There are other teams who also don't have it. Don't forget, another team we may also keep an eye on is the team from BBNE, who are also keeping the pressure gradually.
Quaye and his boys.
As they go, yes.
Yeah.
And so you're realizing that some of the
last
teams...
season they were juggling between getting closer to the relegation zone and being mid-table.
But they started very well last season. But this time they've started very well again. But again, that word beginning with the letter C, consistency, seems to be playing a leading role in their preparations.
Okay, let's go through the Ghana Premier League table after match day 4 and see how things are shaping up. Medeama have a game in hand, but they currently are enjoying the top of the league with 9 points. BBNE Gold Stars, as Prince talked about them a few seconds ago, are second on the table with 7 points. Heart of Lions, Bashir Hereford seem to be doing something quite unique with Heart of Lions. Currently, they are third with 6 points. Nations are fourth with 6 points. Vision FC, one of the new entrants, also lying fifth with 5 points. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, after 3 games, they also have 1 game in hand. They have a 5 point. Bekum Chelsea are seventh with 5 points. Young Apostles from Wenchi, Eddie Mado's team, are also 8 with 5 points. They won their game last weekend. Bechem United are 9th with 5 points as well. Let's look at the other half of the table, where Samatex, who are the champions of the Ghana Premier League, they've played just 2 matches, but they have 4 points and have 2 games in hand. Karela are 11th with 4 points. Accra Lions also have 4 points and are 12th on the table. Heart of Oak, after a rough start to the season, they have been able to pick up 4 points in their last 2 games, so they are lying 13th on the league log. But second, Holy Stars are 14th with 4 points. In Swatramana are 15 currently with 3 points. They also have 2 games in hand. And the last 3 teams on the Ghana Premier League table are Dreams FC, who are 16th with 3 points. Adriana Stars are 17th with 2 points. Legon Cities, not a good time for Parkwesi and the boys. They are 18th with just 1 point. Praise, before we go for a break, 1 minute, let's talk about Heart of Lions. Bashir Hereford, I mean, after coming in and helping the Heart of Lions to survive relegation, they are back fully at the Pando Stadium. Is it a big season for them?
It is. It is a huge season for the lads from Pando. Last season, gradually, they got into it, albeit a bit late. They started the season picking up just single points in every match that they played. I'm sure that really got to them. But this season, look at the transformation and look at the difference. Obviously, coaching has brought a lot of difference. There's a lot of determination. I understand that they're fighting for every position in the team, from goalkeeping right up to the number 11. So it tells you that, again, the way forward, there's a wind of favoritism and success blowing the way of Heart of Lions. They're taking the advantages very well. Playing at home, a refurbished Pando park. I don't know whether I can call it a stadium for now.
It's a park.
But the Pando park is reverberating with a lot of vibe for Heart of Lions. The fans are getting behind the team, which is good enough. Management of the team are also putting in pragmatic ideals, which is also in good place. I saw the reaction and the euphoria when Asante Kotoko visited. Last season we were there, and so we had a feel of it. Now it looks like the stadium or the park has been brought up to a certain standard, appreciable standard, because the last time we went there was still work in progress. And I tell you, look, Pando Heart of Lions have everything going for them. once they are going to be playing in front of their home fans,
that is
they definitely would go forward.
So this was their game against Heart of Folk. Pando Heart of Lions against Heart of Folk. They are back at the Pando Stadium. So this is where we call it a pause and take a quick break. When we return, Ghana against Sudan. The big question is, where will that game be played? It's an Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Remember that CAF has withdrawn the approval for the use of the Barbara Sports Stadium and any other venue in Ghana. We are told that CAF inspection team were in Ghana to inspect the Cape Coast Stadium and the Accra Sports Stadium. But which venue would host Ghana's game? Or we'll be playing that game outside. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
GPL Headquarters.
Playing for your country, easy. Scoring, easy. Avoiding injuries, easy. Winning, easy, Charlie. But you know what be easy now? Kibo 4-in-1 Gary mix. Easy. It gets everything inside. Gary, creamer, sugar, roasted groundnut. Just add water, then sharp my soakings make ready. Taste and energy, made easy. As I be street footballer, Gary at the top. Now we are 10 star boy. Still Gary at the top. I travel go abroad. Kibo Gary at the top. Kibo Gary, he the bio. I'm a match winner, but the real champion is Kibo 4-in-1 Gary mix. Champion taste.
This advert is FDA approved.
GPL Headquarters.
Welcome back from that quick break there. You're still watching the GPL Headquarters here on Max TV and also on Star Times at the Part Channel 247. My name is Mutala Yakubu. Just gone by, we're having discussion on the result that we got from match day 4 of the Ghana Premier League. And we are looking forward to match day 5. The fixtures for match day 5 would come up later. But these are all the results that we got from match day 4. Accra Lions won their game there. And the standing as well, Medeama leading the pack with 9 points, firmly on top. We would get back to that. But now, let's talk about the Black Stars of Ghana briefly, because Ghana has a game against Quaye, Sudan, and the Cape Coast Stadium. Do you think we have a chance of staging that game in this country?
Mutala, I think it's very difficult to tell if, we're actually in a position where we would end up playing our game against Sudan in this country. Honestly, I don't know, the nitty-gritties involved as to the timeline which requires, CAF to send a team down into this country to inspect a stadium and approve it, before a game kicks off. I think 11th October is only 10 days away, and that's less than, 2 weeks. Yes, we had the Ministry of Youth and Sports, trying to plead to some extent to CAF that, yes, we have other stadiums around which they deem it fit to host Category 3 and 4, games. And we knew the Cape Coast Stadium was one of these stadiums. And, even on Sports Park the other day when we spoke to the acting, head of the National Sports Authority, he confirmed that, yes, they were on their way to the Cape Coast Stadium to see if they can put it in the right, state and shape for the upcoming game against Sudan. We've already said it that it would be an indictment on our football. It would be a national disgrace if we should go and play our game. It's not even a friendly game, but this, is an AFCON qualifier outside the shores of this country. I don't think it will really speak well of, our status as a football nation, and then also our pedigree as far as football, on the African continent is concerned. But I think there's been some positive news. Yes, news keeps circulating that CAF sent its inspection team to the country to inspect all these facilities to see if really it's okay to host the game. But Mutala, the question is, I just can't sit here. There hasn't been any clear, an official communique from CAF as to if any of these stadiums can be used for the game officially. But we just remain hopeful due to the development we've seen in recent times, knowing that either the Accra Sports Stadium or the Cape Coast Sports Stadium could end up hosting the game.
Friends, just a few weeks back, we were hit with the highest peak of embarrassment where CAF withdrew the approval for the use of not just the Barbera Sports Stadium. Yeah. They deemed every stadium in this country not fit to host a CAF Category 3 game. We are just 10 days away from hosting Sudan. Yeah. And we are being told that Sudan would get into the country around October 5th to prepare for that game. Are they even sure the game will be staged in this country? That is the biggest question. Where do we turn to? And would it even have an impact on us if that game is not played in our confines?
Mutala, it's as serious as it comes. It's as serious as it comes. And if you follow, a few of the news portals, especially the Francophone portals, and some of the stuff that they're saying about the fact that a country like Ghana does not have a stadium which is in readiness to host such a huge game, a CAF AFCON qualifier. It tells you that we shot ourselves in the foot.
I took time to check the countries that Ghana share relation with in terms of countries that have been banned from using venues in their country. And I looked at the list and saw the likes of Burundi and Gabon, and I was like, this is not where Ghana belongs.
This is definitely not where Ghana belongs. Indeed, it should have been the other way around. We've had countries that have come to play qualifiers here. In this country.
I remember Togo used to play their qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers, even in this country when there was a civil war going on in Togo.
Sure.
They hosted Cameroon here once.
Yeah. Togo have done it before.
Yeah.
The Lone Star of Liberia have also done it before. I mean, it cuts across. Everybody during those times looked up to Ghana because of our pedigree, our level of development, especially where we had gotten with our football. But today, it is the other way around. So a whole Baba Yara Stadium is a no-go area. Accra Sports Stadium is a no-go area. Indeed, it stretches across. One of the questions I keep asking myself, why did we get to this stage? Or how did we get to this stage?
But the signs were clear on the wall. I remember before we hosted Nigeria in that double header, that World Cup qualifier. I mean, we had to use 10 days to get the Barbera Sports Stadium ready because there were rumors that CAF would not allow us to stage the game at Barbera because it wasn't in the best of shape.
In fact, some consideration was given before we got the green light.
So after that game...
maybe after that game, we should have taken a cue from that and put our house in order. But we didn't. But we have rather sat back and relaxed. And indeed, we didn't take a cue from right after CAN 2008. For me, that is where it all begins. Because we left Isipon to rot. We left the Tamale Stadium to rot. By virtue of our active involvement in the coverage of the Ghana Premier League games over the last 2, 3, 4 years, we've been to the Tamale Stadium umpteen times. Tamale Stadium is never kept clean. It's almost always in a dirty state. It's almost always in a dirty shape. The least said about Isipon, the better. But these were stadia that could be ranked as one of the best, if not in Africa, at least the best in West Africa. By virtue of the fact that it was good, it was looking fresh, and we were
good enough to host an Africa Cup of Nations. And even a World Cup qualifier, Ghana took on Uganda sometime back in Tamale.
Sure, we've played in Tamale a qualifier before. We've played in Isipon a qualifier before. So why did we sit down for these facilities to rot?
Maintenance culture.
I don't know how former President J. Kufuor thinks
would feel
or feels
about this issue
when this is brought to his notice. But that is how far we have left our stadia to rot. Our maintenance cultures are definitely not there. So, in realizing that our maintenance culture is not good enough or up to scratch, why don't you keep the momentum with its easy facilitation in terms of keeping the place neat, in terms of keeping the place in readiness for any eventuality? We can't. Not only can't we play football in those stadia, we can't have athletics
also there
because the tracks are gone.
The tartan tracks are gone.
You know.
Well, I don't know. Josiah, what would be some of the consequences that this country will suffer if we don't stage or host Sudan in Ghana, considering the fact that our qualification to Morocco 2025 even hangs on the thread?
Mutala, I think,
because after losing to Angola, it doesn't look good for us.
It's quite a lot. And if we should cast our minds back to a couple of months ago or weeks ago when we played Angola, you know, right?
I'll go on to the lines because our first caller is ready to talk to us. Stephen from Castle Fanco. Stephen, the match day 4 of the Ghana Premier League has come to an end. Kotoko and Hartlepool drawing, and also Ghana Sudan Yeni Park. We don't have a venue at the moment.
All right, I think my comment will go on my phobia club across the photo. In fact, I really appreciate the good effort that the boys, displayed last week at Kumasi. And I believe very well that if they use the same energy in our games ahead, the team will be into it. I pray for them and I wish them a good luck. When it comes to the national, when it comes to the stadium, we plead with the authorities. But it's a high time they stop this crazy Ghana. They should, attend to the various stadiums we have in the country so that things like this wouldn't happen to Ghana. Thanks. And I appreciate your time given to me.
Okay, we're also grateful that you called and share your thoughts with us. He says that the authorities must set up to ensure that this kind of embarrassment does not befall the nation, because it's not befitting of our status. A country that has won the Africa Cup of Nations on 4 different occasions, this is certainly not good. They say, just 10 days to the game. I'm even asking myself, do the players themselves know where we are going to play this game? Well, I'll come back and ask that question. But Charles is also on the line and he's ready to talk to us. Charles, what do you have for us?
Yeah, but I'll make a subject about water.
Meet you, Charles.
Yeah, and I think it's a, and then I'm here to say, Andra has no Kotoko in a 8 minutes because 2 things we only walk on my Emma or my no. I can't see no air de kakra. But Ghana is on message and friend of motion no money be for my. Yeah. About say, no, and Mugas some classified the mine. Say, your mind, need me and in stadium, Papa, and Mobo also.
And the point from the Golden City Park, but the fans are not extremely or overly excited with how things have gone in their last 2 matches. Prosper Natiogum has called for calm. 10 days to that big game between Ghana and Sudan. Kwesiapia and Sudan, do you think he'll be smiling or he'll what will be the mood of Kwesiapia? Because you're coming up against your country of birth. We are in disarray, if we can say that, because we are uncertain about where we are going to play this game. I'm sure Sudan might be smiling. Maybe Kwesi will not be too excited, but his players will be smiling.
Well, players can smile, yes, but for Kwesi, he knows Baba Yara Stadium very well. You know, he played there for virtually his entire football days for Asante Kotoko.
Prince Besaba also, but yes, say Nana Yabua from Tema Kakasunanka so personi Kasa. Nana Pacho meet you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Nana.
Pacho, Adema, a DFB president, football is about who to do.
Pacho man, say you can you? Yeah.
Football is not to be effort to do some lawyers name as Cafon and
okay, Matthias here. You need a certain level of knowledge, not just in our game.
Football handling. A couple of
okay, the likes of Tony Bafumuna into football administration, so maybe in the near future we might have an ex-player taking charge of the reins of our football.
Oh, okay,
Marty. Okay, so that is what Nana thinks there. Now, Josiah, let's talk about the Parliamentary Select Committee on Youth and Sports and some of the questions that the GFA have been answering so far. Yesterday, we heard from Okoe, where he talked about the fact that his administration has been very, very transparent. And also, he talked about the Save Ghana football demo that was staged by the likes of Sadiq Adams, and says that they could have used the right channels in addressing their issues rather than taking to the streets.
I think in recent times, demonstrations on the streets has become a norm in this country. It's not just with regards to trying to save Ghana football, but other aspects of the economy as well. So and it depends on why these group of people chose to demonstrate, because maybe they felt that to some extent the football was just going from bad to worse, and they felt like that was the only way, because I doubt the Parliamentary Select Committee on Sports would have called these group of people if they hadn't demonstrated. I don't know
their voices would not have been heard.
Exactly. I don't know how they would have been called to that panel. I just can't tell, but it's one of it. We've sat here
from out there. So David, you did come up with Ghana Premier League. Any Black Stars upcoming game no Airban. Also, what are you in to say?
Oh, okay. But my dream chair is a Kotoko ne house no. Modern bono abafem.
Yeah.
Ya bo home ground bona. Omutumi be bodro. Omutumi be renew by performance no. So raising the kakramai. Josiah was Oko Zamalek, Oko Tunisia, and Adiana, expansion of Tunisia, and modern born a common on performance. But this is a Kotoko Hasano, a Buffem. I feel a vessel Ghana and performance of Blast Hasano, a moment in Kong and mine. Causing to me, Gobana says, see a class for stadium, a bit close no. Now, Kumasin, so you're close enough, a ball, I won't be a bomb match no. Because Ghana no at the Akuma so in terms of no more Juma, the massive only.
Okay, that's it. That's it. Now, Prince, it's as if almost all the major stadiums in Ghana have been closed. Kotoko now play their home games at the Obuasi Lane Stadium. Hartlepool have also relocated to the University of Ghana. Will that have a toll on the two teams? Because up until that time when it is these stadiums are deemed fit to host these teams, it means that they will be playing away from home.
Yeah, they will definitely be playing away from home, which means that it will have a toll on the followers of the team, because then they would also have to make some add-ons in terms of transportation.
But Hartlepool got a very good number of supporters the last time they played at the University of Ghana.
Yeah,
and I was surprised.
They did. They had quite a number of fans. But you see, don't forget the fact that back in the day when Accra Sports Stadium and Baba Yara Stadium, to that extent, were existing and were functioning well, these areas had not opened up to a lot of livelihood. Okay. So Legon wasn't that broad now.
Okay, so Prince, let me take my last caller, Kwabena from Newtown there. Kwabena, you did Ghana Premier League home come on the Black Stars home come on. Also, there now work a Bachoka.
Yo. Me bo Kotoko for Abaso. Say na no mutimi konya 1-1 draw. Enye easy. Enye easy sir. Enti see etimi konya 1-1 draw. Yes, let's say Nyambo or China Yintimi, and when Obuasi, nay, and Quaye. Now about blasters, nay, purchasing and seminar. And another me boost, me boost, I say, upon us and bit me, Emmanuel. A binding quan has or share. A ya, now say both are binding GFA because me who say, President, now, I say, own to me and may yet pitch, no, and I say, one to me, fan any. And one sports directly sports ministry and sports ministry should be a National Sports Council. No purchasing no shop. Also, National Sports Council na day purchasing a event more. Yes, can a fine. A day event no want to mean high nipa and private body be said. More CSC park and 24 hours. So. Then no should be just a channel to a bind. Now a bind back on obeying the Ghana and a bind any na. And to me, you should say it's a National Sports Council. Let's see a ball waiting more. Medase.
Well, very interesting submission there. But as CAF President Patrice Motsepe always says, it is the sole responsibility of your government to ensure that you have world-class facilities to host football games. He said Morocco, Egypt, Ivory Coast, it didn't happen out of the blue. It was a conscious effort by the government. So irrespective of who is in power, we should be able to have world-class stadiums to host the Black Stars of Ghana. But this is where we call it a wrap. It has been another exciting edition of the GPL Headquarters on Max TV and also on Star Times at the Part Channel 247. Thanks to my senior colleague, Prince Annang, for always being here and educating some of us. It's always a pleasure to sit beside him. And also Josiah Okoe, my other colleague, also being here to do justice to all the issues that we've tackled here. My name is Mutala Yakubu. Keep enjoying the rest of our programs till we meet again. It's au revoir. Bye-bye.